Hey guys, welcome back to our channel movie summary here. The night hides secrets darker than the human mind can imagine, and some fears never fade with time. 30 years ago, in a remote village shrouded in mist and mystery, a young boy named Blake lived under the shadow of a terrifying legend. A creature, neither human nor beast, lurking in the darkness. His father, overprotective yet haunted, knew the truth but never spoke of it. Until one fateful night. Now, decades later, Blake returns to his childhood home with his family, unaware that the nightmare never ended. The whispers in the wind, the shadows in the trees. Something is watching, and this time it's coming for him. Today, we are going to explain a recently released, highly anticipated horror movie called Wolfman. Wolfman is a reboot version of the 2010 film, but unlike the original, which was a typical monster horror, this version focuses more on body horror. The film includes several disturbing elements as well as emotional aspects. So without further delay, let's start the video. The story begins in the state of Reagan, about 30 years ago in 1995. Reagan is a state in the USA, and within it there is a small village in a hilly area where a boy named Blake lived with his father. Blake's mother had already passed away, so his father was solely responsible for raising him. Blake's father was extremely overprotective of him because there was a rumor in the area that a strange creature resembling both a human and a beast was roaming around. Recently, it had even attacked a hiker. Due to this fear, Blake's father was very strict and often treated him harshly. Blake, on the other hand, was just a young boy who admired the beauty of nature and remained unaware of the dangers lurking around him. One day, his father took him on a hunting trip. During the trip, Blake got fascinated by some mushrooms and moved closer to them. However, he didn't know they were poisonous, but his father did. His father quickly stopped him and explained that those mushrooms were highly toxic. He gave Blake a detailed explanation to ensure he would be cautious in the future. However, Blake was still captivated by nature's beauty, and for this, he got scolded. His father warned him that although the place looked beautiful, it was filled with hidden dangers, so he needed to stay alert. A little later, they spotted a deer. Blake's father tried to shoot it, but the deer ran out of range. While his father was focused on the deer, Blake ran off, thinking he could catch it from another direction. What he didn't realize was that in the process of hunting, he could become the hunted. As he looked through his scope, instead of the deer, he saw a humanoid creature that growled like an animal. Its terrifying sounds echoed throughout the forest, scaring Blake. Just then, his father arrived and grabbed him, scolding him harshly for running off. Blake's father was only trying to protect him, but sometimes his protectiveness became overwhelming. Blake had no idea what dangers he should fear. If anything, the only person he feared was his own father. Meanwhile, the creature was getting closer. Blake's father quickly took him and ran toward a treehouse, hiding inside for safety. Through a small opening, his father noticed a deer carcass lying on the ground, its stomach torn open. It was the same deer they had tried to hunt, but the creature had killed it first. Now that same beast was hunting them. Blake's father finally saw the creature and even shot at it, but it escaped. Terrified, Blake asked his father what it was. His father lied, telling him it was just a bear. However, later that night, Blake overheard his father talking to someone, admitting, "That monster is real. I saw it today. I need to do something about it because my son is in danger." The story then shifts 30 years ahead to the present day. Now, Blake lives in San Francisco and has become a father himself. He has a lovely daughter named Ginger. Like his father, Blake's main priority is to protect his child. However, unlike his father, he doesn't want to be overly strict or treat Ginger the way he was treated. Ginger loves her father dearly, but one day she gets into trouble, which could result in an injury. At this moment, Blake lost his temper and for the first time spoke to Ginger in a loud voice. This made Ginger cry. The next day, Blake realized that he had started behaving like his own father. Feeling guilty, he apologized to Ginger and promised never to yell at her again. Blake always maintained a strong bond with his daughter because his relationship with his own father had not been great. The father-daughter duo often played a game where Ginger would try to guess Blake's thoughts. She would say that he was thinking about how much he loved his daughter, and Blake would always agree with her. Keep this game in mind as it will play a crucial role in the story's ending. Blake was a writer who mostly worked from home. His wife, Charlotte, was a reporter working at a news channel, which kept her extremely busy. Because of her demanding job, she barely had time for her family, which created a gap in her relationship with Blake. Despite loving her family, she struggled to spend time with them. One day, Blake received a letter informing him that his father, who had disappeared years ago, had been officially declared dead. In reality, his father had gone to fight a monster and had never returned. Now, after years of investigation, the police had confirmed his death and sent this letter to Blake. Although his relationship with his father had never been good, this news deeply affected him. At that moment, Blake felt the urge to visit his old family house. He wanted to take Charlotte and Ginger along, hoping that this trip would strengthen their family bond. Charlotte agreed, deciding to take a break from work. She also carried the guilt of not being able to do as much for Ginger as other mothers did. She confided in Blake about her feelings of being an inadequate mother, but Blake reassured her that she was a great mom. Thus, Blake set off for his village with his family, ready for a fresh start. However, when they reached the village, he struggled to find his old home. It had been 30 years since he had left, and everything had changed. On top of that, there was no internet access, so they couldn't check maps for directions. As they searched for the house, they spotted a man in a tree house. The man noticed them as well, and started climbing down, approaching them with a gun in his hand. Seeing this, Charlotte gets scared and immediately tells Blake to leave the place because the man there had a gun. Blake tries to reassure her, saying there's no need to panic as everyone here carries a gun. The man, however, turns out to be Blake's childhood friend. He recognizes Blake and introduces himself as Derek. Derek tells them that he has lost his way home. Eventually, he joins them and starts guiding them. As they travel, night falls, and they are close to their destination. Suddenly, something appears in front of their car, causing them to crash. Their vehicle flips over. Blake panics and tries to open the door to escape, but the car is stuck at a height. As soon as he opens the door, he falls down, and an unknown creature attacks him. The others attempt to escape through the windows. Charlotte and Ginger manage to get out, but before Blake can, the creature attacks him, injuring his arm. Somehow, Blake manages to escape, and they all start running to save themselves from the creature. During their escape, they come across a house, which turns out to be Blake's own home. He quickly leads everyone inside, but the creature is still following them. They barely manage to lock themselves inside. However, there is no electricity in the house, and Charlotte and Ginger are extremely scared. Blake searches for a torch, finds one, and uses it to turn on the generator. He then checks through the window and confirms that the creature has left. Charlotte, confused and terrified, asks what that thing was. Blake admits that he has never seen anything like it before. He describes how, before the accident, he saw it standing on two legs. Charlotte worries that they are in serious danger and can't face this alone. She insists that they need to call for help. That's when Blake remembers an old radio in the house. They try to match its frequency to make contact with someone outside, but it doesn't work. Suddenly, strange things start happening to Blake. He notices that his teeth are falling out and his injured hand is bleeding. In all the chaos, he had forgotten about the wound he got in the car accident. Blake believes his hand was cut by broken glass, but Charlotte points out that it doesn't look like a glass injury. Perhaps the creature bit him. She bandages his wound. Charlotte and Ginger eventually fall asleep, while Blake stays awake to block the main door. Suddenly, he hears loud footsteps outside, but strangely, Charlotte and Ginger don't wake up. It seems like only Blake can hear them. He tries to trace the source of the sound and is shocked when he finds a spider moving inside the cupboard, making an unusually loud noise. Then he realizes something even more disturbing. His body is changing. His teeth are falling out, similar to how children's baby teeth fall out to make way for adult teeth, but instead of normal teeth, sharp wolf-like fangs are growing in their place. His hearing ability has also increased tremendously. Blake, though terrified, tries to control himself and use his new abilities to his advantage. He listens carefully and realizes that the creature is still nearby. As he puts his ear against the door, the creature suddenly grabs his leg from below. Charlotte, seeing her husband in danger, immediately grabs an axe and attacks the creature, forcing it to flee. Though Blake is saved from the beast, his condition worsens due to the werewolf-like virus spreading in his body. His hearing becomes distorted, making human voices sound strange and unclear. He was terrified by their words and couldn't understand them. At the same time, his ability to speak like humans was fading. Charlotte realized this, and she understood that the infection had spread to him. Even Blake understood that something was wrong with him and that he might not survive. survive. Out of fear, he lost control, and seeing this, Charlotte tried to comfort him. She brought him a pen and paper so that Blake could write down what he wanted to say. He wrote, "I'm dying." Charlotte tried to reassure him, saying, "No, you are just sick. You will get better." But Blake couldn't comprehend her words anymore. Everything sounded distorted, and now even his vision was blurred. He saw people around him in a strange way, their eyes glowing like night vision. His hair was falling out in patches. This experience was horrifying for Blake. Ginger, seeing her father's condition, became extremely scared and asked her mother, "What happened to Dad?" Charlotte reassured her, saying, "Nothing. Your dad is just sick. We'll take him to the doctor in the morning." Just then, Charlotte noticed blood dripping from Blake's hand. She quickly sent Ginger to another room and removed the bandage from his hand, only to find that half of the flesh had decayed, likely due to the infection. Blake was in excruciating pain. His skin was peeling off, and he started scratching and even biting himself in agony, just like wolves and dogs do when trying to cope with pain. Charlotte was in complete shock as Blake's condition worsened. She realized that they didn't have until morning. If he didn't receive immediate treatment, she might lose her husband forever. She looked out the window and saw a car parked outside. With no other choice, Charlotte decided to take a big risk. She planned to get her family out of there using that car. But just as they tried to escape, the werewolf jumped onto their car, forcing everyone to flee. They ran towards a nearby greenhouse and climbed on top of it to escape. However, the werewolf broke into the greenhouse and started tearing through the roof. At one point, Ginger almost fell through a weak spot, but Charlotte caught her just in time, saving her from falling. However, they couldn't stay on the roof much longer. Blake signaled to Charlotte to take Ginger and run back to the house while he distracted the werewolf. Charlotte quickly carried Ginger inside while Blake led the werewolf away. When Blake returned, he had transformed even further. His hair was completely gone and sharp wolf-like teeth had emerged. His condition looked much worse, and suddenly he vomited blood, along with human fingers. This revealed that during his fight with the werewolf, he had bitten off and swallowed its fingers. Blake was now losing himself to his animal instincts. Realizing that he could become a threat to his family, he decided to leave. But as soon as he opened the door, the werewolf returned, seeking revenge for its missing fingers. A brutal fight broke out between Blake and the werewolf. At first, the werewolf overpowered Blake, but in the end, Blake tore its throat apart, finally killing it. This revealed a crucial fact: the werewolves were not immortal and could be killed without silver bullets. Another shocking revelation was that the dead werewolf had the same tattoo on its hand as Blake's father did. This meant that the Blake's father were not missing or dead. They had become werewolves themselves. This infection or disease had been passed down to Blake from his father. Blake realized that he too was now turning into one of them. Fearing for his family's safety, he decided to leave. But before he could, his transformation reached its final stage. His body structure changed, his claws grew longer, and thick fur covered his entire body. He had completely turned into a Wolfman. The beast inside him took over, and he attacked his own family. Charlotte understood that Blake was no longer human and had become a threat. This time, she refused to open the door for him and armed herself with a knife for protection. Blake struggled to enter the house, and although a part of his human side was still fighting against the beast within him, Charlotte saw him as a danger and stabbed him. Even after all this, Blake was still not attacking them. He was trying to snatch the knife away. Meanwhile, Charlotte took Ginger and ran away. She hid with Ginger inside a barn. Inside the barn, she noticed a bear trap. She decided to use it to stop Blake. Blake broke through the barn door and entered inside. It was completely dark inside, and Charlotte thought Blake couldn't see them, but Blake actually could see because he had night vision. Still, he didn't attack them. As Blake moved toward them, his leg got caught in the bear trap. Taking advantage of the moment, Charlotte quickly grabbed Ginger and ran away. To free himself from the trap, Blake bit off his own leg. Now, crawling on his knees, he continued to chase them. Meanwhile, Charlotte and her daughter ended up at the same place where everything had started. Their overturned car was still there, and nearby, Derek's severed hand lay on the ground. Close to it, Derek's gun was also lying there. Charlotte picked up the gun and hid in a treehouse with Ginger. By now, the sun had started to rise. Blake continued continued chasing them and reached the treehouse. He climbed up and got close to them, but still didn't attack. Blake never wanted to become like his father, but somehow he had turned into the same thing. He was afraid of his own daughter, the one who had always felt the safest around him. Blake couldn't accept this reality. He didn't want to become this way. At this point, Ginger read her dad's thoughts. She told her mom that dad wanted her to end this, but Charlotte couldn't bring herself to pull the trigger. Seeing this, Blake provoked her, forcing her to shoot him. In his final moments, Blake looked at the scenery that had once made him happy as a child. Ginger, reading his thoughts, could sense that he had finally found peace and accepted his fate. With that, Blake took his last breath. Charlotte and Ginger had been through a great tragedy, but somehow they also came to accept their fate. The story ended exactly where it had begun. If you like this explanation, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and let us know in the comments which movie explanation you want next. Thank you.